theme for this year, which is ending child and supply chains and everyone's business. My name is Marie Patiaki from the International Labour Organization, and we are very honest and Employees Federation to organize this seminar for you. So before the TACKLE program began, and I think we can now confidently say the Honourable Minister, and invite you to deliver the keynote address and officially open the seminar.
Ladies and gentlemen and our children, it gives me a profound pleasure to be here with you and become part of a very important event, the World Day Against Child Labour, which is observed on the 12th of June every year. I want to thank ILO, European Union and other stakeholders, including my own ministry, for organizing this event and also having a session here in Labasa so that we are able to have face-to-face interaction with our children here in Labasa as well, including stakeholders who matter, as the theme of this session says, about supply chains. Ladies and gentlemen, child labour is an escalating problem which all societies across the world encounter, and particularly small developing countries like Fiji, Pacific, the small states Caribbean region, as well as the small states, the Caribbean region and the small states African region. The misuse, exploitation and forced labour of children endanger their health, well-being, safety and innocence. Child labour denotes the fact that children who must be rightfully in school or engaged in play are removed from there and made to work under subjugated environment. Many children are subjected worse, as apart from the work they do, they are also oppressed, ill-treated and punished during the work. The innocent children are broken time and again in their spirits and self-respect, which haunts them for the rest of their lives. A child is a precious gift to all parents, and it is really heartbreaking to know that there are many children who are not given that privilege and treatment that they rightfully deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, child labour is a contributing factor to low-waged households. A low-waged household will disincentivize and reduce esteem for anyone in the household to upskill and seek higher education, thus contribute more low-waged households from these child labourers as they establish their families. So, ladies and gentlemen, this cycle will continue, and thus poverty is intergenerational. We need to break this cycle, and we collectively can break this cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, a major liberating factor of females from violence and oppression is upskilling and educating them. Unskilled and low-paid workers on equal footing with the male counterparts tend to be bullied not only at workplace but also at their homes, amongst their extended family members as well as in their community groups. We need to upskill them, our females, raise their earnings potential. This is the sustainable solution to giving them dignity, better opportunities and improved living standards. It is also a more effective way of improving the living standards for the entire household, and as anecdotal research has shown that the impact of increase of female heads' income on the entire family is much higher than the impact of an increase of the male head in the household. So, anecdotal, I haven't come across a more detailed research, but anecdotal research shows that the impact from an increase in the income of a female in the household is much, much higher than the impact from the increase in salary of a male in the household. The child labour, ladies and gentlemen, when we have a large number of students dropping out, unskilled, without any formal qualification, they also contribute to an imperfect labour market, where these workers do not have a bargaining power on low wages and terms and conditions of the work. They are then offered minimal by the monopoly or oligopoly employers. They have no choice but to accept it. They do not have any bargaining power. This then places pressure on the state to intervene in the labor market, a solution not desirable but essential for protection of human rights through various means, legislations and minimum wages, etc. On this note, it is heartening to note that individuals, groups, organizations and government institutions, together with the international labor organizations, tackling child labor through education, the TACKLE program, project, are leading the charge to eradicate this inhumane activity. The theme for this year's World Day Against Child Labor is to do with supply chain. It's everyone's business, and therefore a collective approach. It's quite appropriate, given that the extent and scope of child labor with time has become more complex and multifaceted. So only dealing with children, parents, and employers will not provide a sustainable solution to this growing phenomena of child labor. Ladies and gentlemen, the magnitude of oppression and exploitation that our children face has become more intensive and has grossly spread out in all sectors of the economy. Therefore, it becomes our shared responsibility to establish a drive to save our children from the clutches of those who feed on their innocence. A combined effort from all stakeholders will inject that much needed enforcement and pro-action that is needed to eliminate the misuse of a child's purity. The Bainimarama government has time and again announced that the greatest investment of our government is towards education. And it is remarkable that a developing country government is recognized and is willing to invest heavily in education. Normally, small states, economies, struggling to meet various demands for the limited public finance, tends to ignore help because in the short run, output from education is not visible. But our government has recognized that the long-term solution to raising living standards, providing or securing a peaceful and stable society is to have a knowledge-based society and educated people, educated nation. Some may argue, where will they go? Will they get a job, etc.? It's better to have an educated society who are not employed in the short run than to have an uneducated society who are not employed. Its consequences could be disastrous. Ladies and gentlemen, our government intends to ensure that all Fijians are given equal opportunities and accessibility to get themselves educated. A lot of emphasis is placed on an educated society which will in future inject that much needed empowerment, skills and knowledge in all Fijians to progress productively. This education will then assist all to make rational decisions and to do what is best for the children. The government of the day has devised policies and avenues to remove all obstacles to ECE, early childhood education, primary, secondary, and tertiary education. I recall some time back when one of my then friends in the union said to me, "Is it true that government is freeing up education?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Then there's no more any issue in education. The game is over." No other developing country have removed obstacles for children to get to school as much as what Fiji has done, to the extent that our government is providing boat and engine to children to cross rivers, to get from one island to the other, to have transportation where there is no bus services. We've established or given special license called rural service license to transport owners to pick up children from those areas where normal bus service is not provided. There was an issue recently where someone raised from Riketi that child has to pay additional 20 cents because the coupon is not picking up. Our position is very clear. We will take a child from a home to the nearest school and bring the child back, whether it costs 80 cents or $1 or $2 or $10. We will provide a voucher equivalent to that amount. So there's no issue. Nearest school. We don't want children to go outside the zone and then for us to fork the additional cost and keep our investment here at school with a lesser number of students. So, ladies and gentlemen, our government, from our point of view, have basically removed all obstacles to the extent that we have been providing basic food to children in year 1, so that doesn't become an obstacle for them to come to school. No more they have to buy textbooks. No more children have to worry about who will finance their higher education studies in universities. Ladies and gentlemen, children belong to the school, and that is where they must be. That is precisely why we have made it compulsory that all children must be supported to gain education till year 12, to the extent that we have also said that while we want you to excel and do well from one year to the other, but for some reason or the other, if your mark is not sufficient, you will continuously progress up to year 12. But choice is yours. If you haven't done well, let's say in year 10, it'll be good for you to do well before you go to year 11. If you haven't done well in year 9, it might be advisable for you to repeat if you want to. That choice is yours, so that you don't, at year 12, suddenly realize that you just don't have the base knowledge. But no one will stop you from progressing up to year 12. That is government's policy, and no school, no principal, no head teacher in primary school will stop you from progressing to a next year up to year 12 if your marks are very low. No one will do that. But it's advisable that you prepare yourself well, because without the base knowledge, you suddenly realize it will be difficult for you to understand and absorb the higher knowledge that is provided at higher years in the qualifications framework. If you don't have base knowledge of year 10, then it will be difficult for you to perform in year 12, because you're all linked. Added to this, ladies and gentlemen, our government realized that there are children who may not have an aptitude to go into higher education. Not everyone wants to become a doctor or chemist or pharmacist or accountant or an economist. For them, their interest may lie in engineering area, skilled. And because previously we were not catering for them in that manner, a lot of students were dropping out because they were not interested. Parents were pushing them to go to year 11 and 12, 13, but they're not functioning, and finally they flunk out after year 12 or year 13. We have established an alternative pathway for you to get skilled education, technical education, and still go to university through the technical college. We now have 12 campus, 3 here and 9 in Vitilevu. So these campuses that we have, you don't necessarily have to have a very high mark in year 10 or year 11 or year 12. Those who have dropped out some years back and now loitering around in the village or cutting cane, etc., they can come back and join the technical college. Doesn't mean they need to have a year 8 pass or year 9 pass or year 10 pass. As long as they can read and write in English, they can enroll in the campus and undertake a 1-year program leading to level 2, certificate 2 in electrical engineering, certificate 2 in mechanical engineering, certificate 2 in pastry, certificate 2 in cookery, certificate 2 in automobile, electronics, etc. So this is the level of opportunities we are giving, so that every child's aptitude is being catered for in our tertiary education system. some years back when I was at FNU, I was in the Stockback show and and marketing our program. And a parent called, Stockback shows, parents call, like you have union leaders, they'll call to politicians and ask them, you're not doing your job, etc. So this parent called and said, my son doesn't want to go to university, just plays rugby and soccer and no interest in studies. So I said, send your child to FNU. He can do certificate 3 in sports science. Another parent called and said, my child has got into liquor and doesn't want to study at all. I said, send your child to FNU. He can do certificate 3 in bar services, in the restaurant. And a mother called and said, my daughter, she just does fashion design every day, morning goes to town, comes back, doesn't want to go to school anymore. I said, send her to FNU. In Revai campus, we got certificate 3 in fashion design. So that is the education system which should respond to the interests of our children. Ladies and gentlemen, we intend to fight child labor with education. That is, on one hand, getting all children in educational institutions, and on the other hand, educating the public and community at large on safety, care and upkeeping of children's rights, as well as supporting and motivating them. Telling them that they have something in which they can excel. Without parental support, without community support, we will not be able to support our children, motivate our children. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand this years 5 to 18, children are very emotional. Children are very vulnerable. They tend to make a lot of decisions, not based on rational thinking, but based on emotions. And it is this age, they need a lot of guidance, mentoring, support, encouragement, and motivation. Who are the first contact of our children to give them? Whom does our children confide a lot? Parents, and in particular, the mothers. They need to be very close. The model of raising our children now is much different than our time 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Now, you have to change. I've been telling our teachers, you have to change your methodology. You need to allow your children to interact. I tell my wife to talk to my daughter, keep on interacting. I often go for a walk with my daughter so we can talk freely. The methodology has changed. You need to allow your children to openly confide in you. You need to extract from them what is their thinking and intervene at that level before it's too late and they end up making irreversible decisions which does irreversible damage. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts, through our corporate section, has implemented, reviewed the child protection policy. But these are a system which is there outside, which is there to minimize the damage. But we need to minimize the supply dynamics. We need to ensure if you can kill the supply side of child abuse, then we don't need to have all this. We don't need to spend on enforcing the legislation, surveying, monitoring part. We can use the same money in this side to motivate, to kill this issue of child labor, issue of exploiting your children and pulling them out of a system which will guarantee them a secure future. Because it's not only about granting them the secure future, it's about granting their families and granting a secure future Fiji. The stakes are too high. Ladies and gentlemen, in schools, we have introduced structured programs and activities that assist our children to learn about issues affecting them and how they can counter these concerns. Programs such as Scouts. And this year, up till now, there was no financial support to scouts in Fiji and Girl Guides. This year, we will be providing funding for district level scout meetings that you have at the end of the year. For every district, ministry will provide funds to enable students to participate in scouts and Girl Guide activity. This is the level of commitment we are giving to develop a child holistically. To develop and educate a child is not only about teaching them biology, chemistry, or mathematics. That will not guarantee and secure a holistic, a responsible future Fijian society. We will encourage oratory contest, debates. You may have seen oratory contest on Hindi, very successful, Urdu, and I'm not sure whether the Itokai language contest has finished. We're encouraging them. We have asked our curriculum section to have quiz in all subject areas. We will lead. We don't want to follow other institutions. Ministry have the stock of knowledge. In our curriculum section, we want quiz in every subject area, be it maths, chemistry, physics, biology, etc. in our school system throughout Fiji. And we will provide the funding necessary to pick up all the expenses. Ladies and gentlemen, external shocks can contribute to children's dropout and exacerbation of child labor. Shocks such as disease outbreak, cyclones, droughts, and other natural disasters. These shocks can temporarily push children out of the system, and if you don't react immediately, then the students will not return. We need to understand, we need to be ready, we need to build resilience in our system to allow our children and households to bounce back immediately from these shocks so that we don't do irreparable damage in terms of keeping the children out of the system of education permanently. Hence, we doubted. We immediately moved in very quickly when we found that our system was subject to a major natural disaster. Within a week, we were able to bring back most of the students into school, and the rest came 2 weeks later. We took some very important drastic decisions at that particular point in time. I want to thank all stakeholders, particularly our teachers and unions for supporting us to ensure that children's interests are placed at the foremost. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of system we need to have, which has got inherent inbuilt resilience. Resilience meaning ability to bounce back from shocks. And to build resilience in the system, it takes a lot of thinking, organizing, and willpower. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from this, as I've alluded to earlier on, we have now intensified on the notion that parents, as one of the key stakeholders, must now become more involved in children's education and take ownership of children's education. We don't want parents to push the children's education and children's growth and development to education system only, the formal education system only. Informal education system, education at home, plays a very important role. That's where children's first and foremost education starts. And that importance of that education should not be downplayed right up till at least age 18. We want our parents to continuously engage with their children, talk to them, find out whom they're talking to, find out what they're studying in school, find out what the teacher has been teaching in the daytime, check their books, assist them in doing homeworks. Ladies and gentlemen, the objective of the seminar that is organized today is funded by the European Union, is to understand child labor concept, laws, policies, leading actions to eliminate child labor, and to evaluate knowledge of child labor and advocate for positive change. And I do hope that you will think deep on this also understand the role various stakeholders play. And in conclusion, let me reiterate that with education we can all collaborate to put this issue to an end. Our beautiful nation must become a safe haven for all our children. And as I getting emails and inquiries from other jurisdictions about our education system, about the reforms that we are undertaking, my feeling is other countries will emulate Fiji's education system, despite what small monetary group think. Together, we all can make a difference. I urge all of you to act and let these heinous actions come to a full stop. Ladies and gentlemen, with this word, I wish to wish all participants of this seminar a very enriching and informative experience, and thank the organizations of the group, the external organizations, ILO and European Union, for the vision and foresight to building and securing a future prosperous Fiji. I do hope this message of mine and the organizers do not only remain confined to you all, but reaches out to everyone in this country, the employers, NGOs, civil society organizations, including unions, educational institutions, parents, children, community leaders, and faith-based groups. In every discourse of yours to these institutions, these stakeholders, to every discourse of yours, our children, our future and future of this nation must be included. For some, the bottom line is different, I do understand, but morality and social responsibility should also be an objective, secondary at least. Secondary at least. Thank you.
With the training in our school, through education assistance and also through counseling and remedial technical. And today we will look at the role that you play. Fiji and in Pacific is called Catholic Challengers Education. And to invite Mrs. Olai, the education officer. It is my honor to introduce to you our chief guest, Honorable Minister.
On behalf of ILO, my colleague from my friend and dear students, indeed a pleasure for me to move a vote of thanks this morning. An entry in any college to get an education through the loan scheme. I think that's a wonderful initiative that gives us children.
Senior lecturer in development studies in 2002 and senior lecturer in economics in 2005. He was then promoted to associate dean of the faculty of business and economics in 2007 and associate professor of economics in the same year. The Honorable Dr. Rady was appointed as the chair of the Commerce Commission